Welcome everyone on this lovely rainy evening to the Vivienne Westwood store. I hope that you're enjoying the Prosecco and canapes. I have the pleasure to be joined by Robin MacAndrew from Artisan Fashion, who is a big part of the reason that we're here today and the bags that you saw on entry. So my first question for you, Robin, is could you please tell me how Artisan Fashion as an organization started and also where the relationship with Vivienne Westwood began?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Artisan Fashion is a company of African artisans handcrafting beautiful bags and accessories for, I think, forward-thinking and super cool brands like this one. What you see is very much what it is that we do. What's not so evident is how we do it and why we do it. We engage and employ community groups and artisans right across the country of Kenya, from beading groups in the Masai Mara to urban artisans in the just as famous Kibera slum. We take their skills, we try and enhance those skills with specific sort of reference to what we need those skills for. And we try and bring, I suppose, dignity and meaning to their work and their pay. We are now a private company. We come from a subsidized charity background, if you like. We were part of the United Nations. And as it looked like this entity was going to become commercially sustainable, we made the choice to privatize it and to see whether or not we could turn a charity into a business. And we did that in 2015, and here we are today. With regard to our relationship with Vivienne Westwood, we've been working with Vivienne Westwood since 2010. We sit here today amongst our 13th collection. We have 2 more in the pipeline. As I left Nairobi, I saw the autumn-winter collection on the production floor. And also, difficult to believe, I know, spring-summer 2018 on the product development desks. Things get going pretty early. We are now in a position where we are very, very close to being commercially sustainable. And that has a lot to do with the support that we've received from Vivienne Westwood. So a big shout out to Vivienne Westwood.
Shout out, Viv.
Because quite literally, without the support, the consistent support of Vivienne Westwood down the years, we wouldn't have achieved what we've been able to achieve, and we wouldn't be where we are.
Well, should we have a round of applause? There you go. So one of the pillars of your sort of business model, at least according to your website, is design for social impact. And I just wondered if you could kind of like break that down. What does that mean in terms of like what Artisan Fashion is giving back to the local community?
So as a social enterprise, we have some processes that you might not necessarily see in other manufacturing hubs or factories. When we sit down with Vito, Murray, and God knows there are hundreds of other people on the design teams at Vivienne Westwood, we're really conscious of and give consideration to the making of the bag and the processes that go into the making of the bag. In other words, who is engaged, who is employed. I've got a couple of bags here. I can talk you through them, or is it?
Please do. That leads into my next question, actually, because I want to know kind of specifically in terms of like craft, what we're seeing at play here, you know, that's unique to the region.
Okay. Unique to the region and unique also to our company. I mean, as a company, we are probably the only manufacturing company in Africa that does things the way that we do them. Okay, so Ethiopia's got a lot of manufacturing hubs that are opening up, but they're paying no better in wages than those of China and Vietnam and the likes, and Bangladesh. But so let me talk you through this bag here. I don't know if you guys can see this specific bag here. This, actually, funny enough, I saw for the first time tonight, having not seen it for over a year. And this is called the African Blanket Tech Case. And essentially, this is a canvas bag. It's East African farmed cotton canvas. And the leather on the bag is a full grain cow leather. The canvas comes from...
what does full grain mean?
So basically, you don't take the head off it. So you see all the scars and blemishes. A lot of the cows sitting under the acacia tree, they'll have scars down their backs and so on. It's quite unusual, actually. It's a Vivienne Westwood thing. When we go to the tannery and we ask for full grain, they wonder what on earth we're talking about. But we do it for Vivienne Westwood, and I don't think they do it for anyone else. So I very much see what it is that... I mean, I have a responsibility to promote local supply chain. So this is why this is an East African farm cotton canvas. That's why this is this leather is from a tannery up the road. But let's get into the making of the bag. Essentially, this bag would be made, and it's made up of 2 panels. Now, the canvas is cut by Grace Amenge and her team of 6 cutters at the first. That's the first in the sequence of operations. It then gets sent to the printing department. As you can see, there's quite a funky print on this bag. But the printing department isn't as you might expect. It's not a row of automatic printing machines. It's led by Peter Segero, and he uses a hand screen printing technique where basically what you do is you stretch a stencil over a wooden frame, you place that frame down onto the canvas, and then you squeeze or you push ink through that frame. So what you have here is a 3-color print. And so you would push the white, the black, and the blue through independently. So it's a really manual process. The reason we use that process is that it gives us an opportunity to employ people. The reason we use that process is because we believe that luxury should be handcrafted. And the reason Vivienne Westwood liked that process as well is because the handcrafted nature of it makes every product unique. There are natural variations within every single product. Also quite interesting is the brass on the back. The brass comes from Anthony's small artisan shop called Rangau Artisans. And Anthony's a cool story, actually. We met him about 5 or 6 years ago. And he was a sole trader operating in the domestic market, selling jewelry, just bracelets and rings to, as I said, the domestic market. When we met up with him, we helped develop some of his skills. Now he has a small artisan shop, but it's got 9 artisans in it. He and his wife Benta run it. And what they do is they would collect up old fridge parts, padlocks, car parts, whatever else it is that they can get their hands on. They melt it down, they recast it or upcycle it into what it is that you see here. And I think that's sort of emblematic of what it is that we're trying to do. We're trying to bring international market access to local artisans and groups that previously have been limited by the domestic sphere and that only.
So it's kind of like engaging a whole sort of community of local artisans there. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is that we try and do. And I'll sort of cut to the chase on why the design element of it adds social impact. You know, we can, for some of our clients, we can source this stuff from China, say, for instance. It's more expensive to use Rangau artisans because of the fact that there's no economy of scale in the way that they do things. You know, if we printed this stuff automatically, it would be a hell of a lot cheaper than employing 6 people and using the processes that we do. So there are decisions that need to be made at the design stage to make sure that the bags have are commercially attractive, but also add to the social impact and therefore adhere to our purpose-driven model, I suppose. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Good.
I wondered, do you think that we'll see a rise of relationships being formed between sort of high global fashion houses and, organizations like yourself? Or why is there a reluctance to form those relationships, do you think, within fashion?
I don't know about reluctance. I don't know the answer to the second bit about the reluctance. Do I think that would I like to see a rise in the relationships between artisans and high fashion houses? Yeah, for sure. I think the world needs it, actually. That type of production would make a lot of sense for a lot of people. I don't have a professional line on this, but I do have a sort of personal take on it. the thing I love about what it is that I do is I get to see the difference that producing bags with the processes that we use makes for those that are involved in the production. On that basis, I can't help but feel that if brands could see and experience what I get to see and experience on a daily basis, they'd feel compelled to produce bags of this nature. And I feel the same way about buyers like you and me. If you could see what I get to see on a daily basis and experience some of what it is that these guys do, you would feel compelled to buy products that were made in a way like this. So I get to see what fashion does from a positive perspective. It does change lives. We read a lot about what certainly fast fashion does from a global supply chain perspective, and I'm here to shout about the other side of it, to say, it can make a positive difference. I think one of the things that we all need to do, and that's Vivienne Westwood, Artisan Fashion, and all of Artisan Fashion's clients, is we all need to find a way to communicate or tell a story as beautifully as we can design and make a bag. If we can do that, then we can get the message out there that this type of production really does make a difference.
When you talk about sort of, if only we could all be aware of the sort of timeline or life of our clothing before it hits the rails, then we would be more likely to buy from, initiatives like Artisan Fashion. Have you must have the numbers. Are you seeing a rise?
Putting me on the spot.
No, I don't need the actual numbers, but I just wondered,
right,
since kind of ethical fashion has become more of a sort of term that the general public are aware of, and we are more aware of the processes, are people buying more kind of responsibly sourced items? Please say yes. If not, we're all screwed.
I think, I'm probably not the best person to answer this question because I'm not at point of sale, and there will be people here that are better placed to answer that. So
let's get onto the desk.
I don't think we need to haul anyone out and ask them that question. I think, there's been a lot of really, really good reporting around the effects of global supply chain specifically, but also in the fashion industry. Most of it's about the negative effects. There are obviously the shocking images that we all see of children that should be at school working in horrifying conditions, and we'll all know about the Rana Plaza disaster as well, where 1,134 people lost their lives. What does that make a difference to how it is that people feel? Yeah, I'm sure it does. The issue, and we discussed this a little bit earlier upstairs, is about access. Is it accessible in the mainstream? I struggle to find things that would allow for me to action my good intentions. And I think that until we get ethical choices are as easy to come by as any other choice, then I don't think we're going to see a significant difference. And I just might add on that as well, because it's in my interest to add it. In terms of a lot of the reporting around how stuff is made, a lot of it tends to be negative. And I don't think we really see a huge amount of positive reporting on whether or not it be our industry or any other, on manufacturing or production that does make a difference for people that are involved. And I can't help but feel that a bit of positive reinforcement wouldn't go amiss from the press or from brands that want to push the product. They've got to talk about the upsides too. It's not all bad. I know it's not all bad because I get to see it. And we don't do a very good job of letting the world know that it ain't all bad, that fashion is making a significant difference for some of those that are involved. And it doesn't, I can't help but feel that we just don't do enough of that. So is it important? Do people consider it to be important? Yes. Do people struggle to find it accessible? Yes. Do I think we could report more positively on the good stuff that's going on? Yes. Is that what your question?
Three yeses.
Yeah.
Yes, you answered. You more than answered.
Sound like a politician.
Well, don't get me started on that. So can you tell us anything about any sort of future collaborations you might have with Vivienne Westwood in the future? Will it ever go beyond accessories if...
Well,
if your business expands?
you know, we've come a hell of a. I'd love it to one day, but I'm not going to be the one that determines that. For me, we've taken some incredibly skilled people and some not so skilled people, and we now have a quality of product that I'm proud of, that is really, really great, and becoming even better. Do I think it's time to diversify into other product? No. I think maybe further down the line it'd be a nice problem to have, but I think we've got plenty to be getting our teeth stuck into now. We just let me fit. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sort of thinking it over while you are. We moved in 2015 to a new production facility. Prior to that, we were in a pretty sort of shitty go down in the industrial area of Nairobi. And we moved into a really nice new production facility on the outskirts of Nairobi with 23,000 square feet. We fill 13,000 square feet of it. I would love for us to fill all 23,000 square feet, ideally with bags. But if it has to be something else, then it has to be something else.
Well, on that note, does anyone in the immediate vicinity have anything they'd like to ask Robin while he's here? Go ahead, okay.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Rhiannon, and I've got virtually everything you've produced. And I'm really curious about what your new line's going to be. You said you had some stuff on the production line or in your... Come on, give us a clue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about confidence.
Are you wearing everything that you own there right now? Yeah, okay.
It doesn't seem to matter. You'll buy it anyway. We've got a... Okay, so on the production floor at the moment, let me talk a little bit about the materials, perhaps, because that's something, as we've moved through the gears on the social side of things, as I alluded to earlier, Vito and Murray and the team, they really understand the skills and materials that we have available. We've looked at a lot of the processes. Now we're looking at materials too. Something else that's really, really important. So you will see in the collection here, dhow sail bags. I don't know if you're familiar with dhows, but dhows are fishing boats off the East African coast on the Indian Ocean, on the old sort of spice trail. And I actually just sent our sourcing guy down to the coast, down to Mombasa the other day. He was gutted, it was raining, and he sort of it was funny anyway. And he goes and picks up a lot of the sails from these fishing boats and gives value to something that would otherwise not have value. And Vivienne Westwood then take those sails and make bags out of them. And you know what? There's something cool going on as well with coffee sacks. You can expect something on coffee sacks. We're taking coffee sacks. We are upcycling coffee sacks at the moment. And then I was over here about 3-4 weeks ago talking to Vito and Murray about waste in the industry as well. I didn't realize this, but a company like Nike, 42% of their materials end up as waste. So when you're looking at it from an environmental standpoint too, I don't think we'll ever work with Nike, so I'm not worried about that. But when you look at the waste element of it too, we're using offcuts of dhow sail, and we are basically going to quilt that dhow sail, and it gives us an opportunity to train people that haven't previously tailored, and use a material that otherwise would have had no value. And so, we do a lot on the social side with Vivienne Westwood, and now we're beginning to do a lot more on the sort of environmental side too, which I know is really, really important to the brand.
That's like inventing an entire new skill, though, if it's working with a material that no one's ever used for these purposes before as well.
Yeah.
Added bonus.
Yeah, I mean, we look around. I came over from Nairobi at the beginning of the week, and I was there on Monday, and I said, look, I mean, this is a brand that's open to any sort of material. I mean, we sell a lot of, say, chicken feed. Let's bring the sacks. There are loads of empty sacks and see what it is that they might want to do with it. We've used previously posters, big tarpaulins, road signs that we've put into production. The great thing about working with Vivienne Westwood is that not every single bag has to look exactly the same. It's a problem with other clients, but it enables us to get use out of materials that would otherwise perhaps be landfill or give value to a product, give value to a product or to an individual that previously would have just cast aside whatever it is that they had. I mean, my guys think we're nuts. You know, using coffee sacks as bags. You know, this is they don't get it, and the same with dowsel. But it's fun. It works. It's environmentally the right way to go. We're able to train people at the same time. Yeah, it's super cool. It's a good thing to be doing. So I can't even remember what the question was or who asked it.
She was asking for a sneak peek into future collections, and now we know everything.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that was confidential.
You had a question as well. I wasn't even meant to go rogue and ask the audience, but you look amazing and you had a question, so go for it.
You said you train people.
Yeah.
You realise that if you educate a man, you educate one person. If you educate a woman, you educate a nation. That's actually an African quote. How are you addressing the fact that females were the main artisans of textile and dyeing in a lot of Africa?
Let me answer by telling you what number of ladies we have to men. And it's anything between 60 and 65% of our entire in production hub, so factory floor work. If you look at the community groups, I completely concur with you, by the way, and if you look at the dynamic of African way of life as well, it's incredibly important for ladies to have an income. The guys just basically drink their income. So we understand that. The community groups, we have many, I think 20 different beading groups. Oh, that's another thing that will be coming in one of the collections, a big beaded piece on the front of a coffee sack bag. But that gives work to ladies that is within their rural communities, so they don't have to come in, and we pay them for that. Yeah, we have, I think, a healthy mix of men and women, but I'm aware of what it is that the ladies bring to what we do, and also the need in our culture to support more of the ladies. Generally, when it comes down to school fees being paid and food being put on the table, it's the ladies' income that makes that happen. As I referred to earlier, the guys do other things with it.
Thank you so much for listening. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sorry for springing those extra questions from the floor onto you. You were great. A round of applause for Robin.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming.